Good evening and welcome to season 2 of Minutes to Midnight. My name is Martin Murphy. I'll be your host for this evening. I suppose I should say Happy New Year because this is the first show of 2025, and what an interesting 2 weeks we've had so far. So to discuss the event so far, I'm going to bring up my first guest of the year, Mr. David the Chariot O'Reilly. David, good to speak to you again.
Yeah, well, thanks, Martin. I'm delighted to be on and very honoured that it's just you and me chatting to our audience, and hopefully we'll get some response back from them. Happy New Year to everyone, and we've been chatting for a while now, and we get to have a public chat now, so that's great, Martin.
Very, very good. Right, we'll start with the obvious. And for those who don't know you, the Chariot O'Reilly. give us all the details.
Well, it's a good start because it was actually my introduction to nationalism. I back in the day, I had, this would be about 2007. I always had a few ponies since I was in my early 20s, and very interested, very loyal to Irish heritage, and I wanted to express my Irish heritage and our culture. And I saw the chariots on the high crosses of Ireland, chariots in the Táin, O'Cullen, chariots all over the place in medieval Irish literature. And I thought, look, I can do this. I've got a bit. I was a college kid. I understand the I suppose the literary side of this, and I have experience with horses. I used to driving them on the road, and I have since I was in my early 20s. So I said, I think I can put this together. And at the time I was thinking, I hope nobody puts one together before me, And I launched on a building project for a couple of years, which involved learning all kinds of things like bronze casting, and got in touch with a lot of skilled people, and worked on a project. And essentially what you do is you try to get the best people that you can to get involved, and tell them what they need to know, and then just let them get on with it. And what we came up with after a couple of years was a functioning chariot. And immediately as I had this thing copied off the Aheny High Cross, which is on the Tipperary-Kilkenny border.
I actually know it. I've actually been to that High Cross. It's not that far away from me.
Oh wow! Am I saying that right, Aheny? Or my wife?
I'd say it's Aheny.
Aheny, yeah. My wife.
A Kilkenny man might disagree with me, but I'd always say Aheny. Yeah.
My wife is Kilkenny, so she always corrects me when I say it. But Aheny, that High Cross. So immediately after we'd put it together, and the ponies were only getting used to it, RTE wanted us to wanted to film it, and it was quite difficult because it was for a program with Neil Delamere, and the ponies weren't quite ready, but we put something together, and then over the years I got invited more and more back on, and to do different things, different productions for RTE, for documentaries and heritage shows, military shows and that kind of thing. So I got some credibility from the National Museum. But this was my journey into nationalism too, because even though the media very much responded to the reproduction of the heroic Irish self-image, like the kind of thing you'd see with O'Cullen, not everybody in the institutions received it well, and some people were actually offended by the chariot, by the reproduction. And
Why?
I tell you why, because and this was where I got an inkling of what was happening in the world, is that when you are introducing the heroic self-image and a national icon into a culture that or a political direction that is heading in the direction of secular, multicultural, and globalist, national icons become a bit of a problem because they kind of promote the heroic self-image of the Irishman. And
Mm.
um, slowly I became aware that the national, it's particularly academia, wasn't interested in this, and didn't want to know, and would prefer if it all went away.
Mm.
Not all academics.
They'd rather you speak of the black pygmies. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
it's all this
yeah,
out of Africa stuff, and
yeah,
how much of Irish culture can we say was black, and
yeah,
all
yeah,
that
yeah.
stuff. That we go.
All the woke nonsense. Is the chariot
And
still in action?
oh yeah, I've two of them going. One of them's in Dartfield Horse Museum, which has been Dartfield Horse Museum in Loughrea, which has been closed down for the last couple of years following the death of Willie Leahy, who was the I suppose the dreamer who came up with a horse museum, and he very much had a vision for the Irish horse. And when I brought him the chariot, or I showed him the chariot, because I have no land. I have 15 ponies, but I have no land of my own. I rent uh, land. I don't have a farm. I don't have an arena or anything like that. So I'm relying on what I call the chieftains, which are, wealthy people who recognize what you're doing, and it's easy for them to help you, and they
Yeah,
do. And Willie Leahy was one of these people. And also, Willie Leahy recognized that we were both dreamers. We dreamed of, um, I suppose, um, I suppose we had a vision and a purpose for Ireland. And for Willie, it was the Irish horse. For me, it was Ireland and the Irish people. And so I went up there, and he said, "Come on in, just train your ponies, use the facilities." And I did, and we got the chariot going pretty well. I would like it to be better, but we've pretty much demonstrated that it's a superb bit of technology, very advanced for its time, that it has it's an embryonic modern horse-drawn vehicle, in that it has big wheels and a platform that the driver sits on. The warrior fights from standing up. So
speaking of warriors, so two very important questions.
yeah.
Um, have you tried to launch spears or use a bow and arrow from it? And if not, why not? And if you need a spear or a bow and arrow, I can provide them to you if you just put that out there.
Yeah, well, we need all the spears we can get, because they break off in the ground fairly easily. And sometimes you lose the points in the ground and can't find them again.
Yeah, yeah. No,
But
I know all about losing arrows.
we've never actually fired a bow and arrow off it. But
Right,
my son,
I'm coming to Galway.
yeah, you must. We look. There will be opportunities for this, and we are hoping. I am hoping this year to bring the horsemanship of the chariot to people, and maybe get people a bit more involved. See, are people willing to? Because I have two chariots, and you know, I think this is something we can put on display. We can give people a flavour of Irish culture, of the Irish heroic self-image. It says in the tone, "Here's Cú Cullen, red cloaked, he loomed above the battlefield. uttering his battle hymn, he deals death over the left-hand wheel of his chariot. And
Mm.
when you're stood up on this chariot, if
You
you're
feel it.
6 foot tall, your head is 10 foot up in the air, and you're moving along at speeds of up to, I suppose, 15, 20 miles an hour. And you are essentially a mobile tower house, because the purpose of the Irish chariot was really to elevate the warrior as high as possible, because that gives you an advantage over people who are beneath you and who are
Yeah.
trying to get past your
Yeah,
panel,
but even
and
from
also your shield.
even from a launching a weapon, launching a spear, or if you're using a bow and arrow, that elevation, you're actually getting way more force into your throw if you're throwing down as opposed to throwing straight or up. So just
Exactly. And
from a military point of view, it made sense, and speed as well. Also, it must have been, like, imagine 10 or 15 of them coming at you. You're in a battle line. It must have been absolutely terrifying. You know what I mean, to see a line of these coming at you with a driver and a warrior on it, like, and you're thinking, well, how am I going to stop this?
exactly.
So,
I think in one of the texts there's hundreds of chariots on a
yeah,
battlefield.
yeah.
And if
Isn't it
you
funny that
imagine,
our stories, because I would have remembered it from my childhood, and I'm obviously
yeah,
given, because nationalism has been awakened in me. So I'm reading back on the old stories of from Phil McCool and Cuchulainn,
yeah,
and the stories of giants, and even deeper back than that, about the two of the Dana, and who our old gods were, and what I mean, where our folklore came from, and who everybody was, and it's never been developed into. I mean, there's you have your fantasy TVs, you have your Lord of the Rings, and you have
yeah.
your movies and all that kind of stuff. There is such a wealth of stories there that, like, if a studio actually took it, like, they would make a fortune. They would make an absolute fortune making that, or bringing it to the big screen, or doing a big HBO series. I spoke about it before. It's amazing that the wealth of history and
But
magic
all the
that's
more,
there.
all the more for you and me to do, Martin. I mean, this
Yeah,
is the beauty of it, that nobody has done it. So,
yeah,
more for me, and more for us to
yeah.
discover. I will
I think
say,
I think those culture days would be a fantastic idea, though. Like, just having big festivals where we just celebrate who we are. Have things that got learn about our history. You know what I mean? Music, chariots. I mean, let's have chariots at a
yeah.
festival. It'd be
Well,
amazing.
we've had it out at the Sligo Nationalist Festival with James Conway for a
James,
couple of years. We had it with down in County Clare as well, with Sean Kilkelly and the Forgotten Horses. And the beautiful thing is, I mean, there's so many things I want to say. I'm going to fire through them quickly. First of all, was that you raised, Martin, was that so little of this has been done. I mean, we're a state now over 100 years, and there has never been a movie made about Cuchulainn. There's never been a movie made about St. Patrick. Never a movie about Cuchulainn, about Nile of the Nine Hostages. Never a movie about Brian Boru, nor Hugh O'Neill, and who was more successful than Braveheart. So there is a cultural cringe in Ireland at some level, and this is what I'm um, always up against and learning more about, is why are the Irish institutions, their responses are, as I said, a range from offence to indifference to interest and some support, but it's that support is very much a an outlier. The indifference is at the heart of the institutions. But you asked me also about, have we ever cast a spear, and I tell you that was one of the most memorable moments, because my son is unbelievable on the back of the chariot. He can literally hang off the back of it. He throws darts and spears off the back of it. Now he's one of these young lads who kind of thinks his dad's a bit annoying at times, and he's not mad to do it. I can kind of get him to come and do it, but he would prefer to be doing his own stuff. But the first time he was up on the back of the chariot, I was just getting used to driving at a gallop. And anyway, he pulled up a short spear, and he's a great thrower, and he launched it, and it appeared to disappear into the sky. It went so far because, one, you're moving at 10, 20 miles an hour. Two, you're up 10 foot up in the air. So you're at a height and speed, and all of a sudden this spear disappears into the sky, and the two of us were just watching it in amazement, and we were transfixed by this spear. And after what seemed like ages, it came down and launched itself into the ground and stuck out of the ground. And I realized, oh shit, I'm in trouble here, because the horses were nearly on top of the spear, and we had to kind of swerve around to avoid the spear, And it was like, wow, okay, we've learned something about chariot driving today.
Throw
And,
them to the left or to the right, not in your path. What does it weigh? Just out of curiosity.
It's very light. You can lift it with your hands. My 12, I get when I was doing shows, and there was a time when, before I was cancelled, I was doing shows for heritage festivals and things like that. And I used to get my 14-year-old girl to go around and catch the axle and lift it, because it is that light, and it's meant to be that light, because some of the things we haven't done is the feats of the charioteer, which would be the salmon's leap, where you literally charge into a rank of enemy soldiers and launch and leap above them. So the chariot actually clears the ground, and we are able at the moment to stand on the chariot, jump up like with the BMX bike. You launch your own body weight up in the air, and then you catch the chariot from underneath you and lift against your propelled weight. And we can lift the wheels of the chariot up off the ground, because it's that light. And I could make it lighter. And another feat would be the thunder feat, which is where you run along your enemy's shield wall and you dig your axle into their shields. And as it drives along the wall, it bounces off one shield after another, and as it goes along, it goes boo, 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 and makes the sound of thunder off your enemy's shield wall. So this is the kind of stuff which is in the ton. Now we've still to do all that, and there's still, look, if you go looking on the internet for Irish weaponry, you won't find much. You can go and look at Roman and Viking stuff, and you can literally order it off the internet. But Irish stuff, it's unique. The axes are unique. The swords are unique. You have to pretty much make them yourself. The helmets are unique. It's there's so much more of Irish heritage.
It's time-consuming work. Yeah, I was briefly involved with medieval combat Ireland. I looked in, this is a long time ago, and like I said briefly, I went to a couple of training sessions and stuff like that, and looked into it, and then realized the cost of having your suit of armor manufactured. And it was just beyond me. So, but it's still something I'd like to do. But yeah, in relation to weaponry, yeah, I'm a big fan of weaponry, and I've a small collection of bits and bobs. But as you said there, yeah, I've never seen Irish, that is uniquely Irish, if you know what I mean. Or I don't even know, to be honest with you, what an Irish axe head is supposed to look like. So that's when we get off here. That's the very first thing I'm going looking into. Yeah,
it's called a Spartax, Sparth, I think, or T axe, and it's a unique shape. You can thrust with it, and it has a tip like a spear, but it's essentially a big whopping axe. These gallows glass combat doesn't last very long. It's big, huge stripes with massive cutting power.
You get hit once, and that's it. Game over.
Seconds. Yeah, it's a 20-second fight, And
right. So listen, I'm conscious of time, and I could actually spend the entire rest of the conversation talking to you about this. But we get a few more of the topics in, and like I said, we can do this again. You know what I mean? That just because we've been on once. I'll have people on again. Like I'm going to try and do more than one show per week anyway, so it's kind of the case. But I actually like to devote a full hour to talking about our history and our
Yeah,
folklore and our myths and our magic and all that kind of stuff. But we'll move
yeah,
on to, unfortunately, the filthy and horrible world of politics.
yeah,
And it is a
yeah.
filthy and horrible world. So
It's tough
talk
going.
talk to me about the Irish people.
Well, the Irish people came about because it really came out of Hold the Line, because we had developed an effective nationwide group of activists, um, with a WhatsApp group in every county, and each group was active on the narrative, and there are three aspects to what we're trying to do. One is culture, fighting the culture war. One is the narrative, and the last one is politics. So the narrative is what people believe, and media, RTE, the government, press. That's all about um, getting people to believe, have a worldview, share the worldview of the establishment. And so we were there, coming out of the lockdowns, really sticking up for rights and freedoms, not so much anti-vax, though we were, but we knew we knew we could get public support for the preserving of our rights and freedoms, because people were confused. Most people had took the vaccine, and they didn't want to hear any more bad news about all of that. They wanted to concentrate on, okay, our rights and freedoms have been interfered with in a authoritarian way. A lot of people wanted to express that, particularly after the lockdowns, where it's like, no, this is not going away. We're going to do something. So Hold the Line, Sovereign People developed this network, and about half of the network didn't want anything to do with politics, and about half were prepared to make a political challenge. So we couldn't go ahead as Hold the Line, because Hold the Line is its own business. So we took the model of Sovereign People. And Sovereign People, by the way, is a text written by Pádraig Pearse just before he went into the GPO. Very interesting and uh, very under. People just don't know enough about it. But that was what. So we used the model, and the model, that the mission statement of Sovereign People was: we are a group of individuals and independent groups who don't necessarily agree with each other, but share a common goal to protect our rights and freedoms. We are not trying to create unity, and we oh god, I've forgotten the last bit, but it was essentially that we so that's the flavor of it. And what it was, and we don't define each other. That was the final bit. We don't
Mhm.
define each other. So it was a structure which we felt was very successful, and we wanted to go ahead with. We didn't want a party whip, and because that involves defining each other, and um, it's really see a people's movement. You have lots of personal ideologies. Um, Everybody has their own personal ideology, and they want to see that expressed. When you're doing politics, you can't do personal ideology. You may feel you're right about something, but ultimately, this is about what politics is about: is having a goal which people can get behind, which has a hope of being achieved. I'm working towards achieving a goal. And the goal was, I mean, there was a couple of goals. We can go into that after. But the Irish people was there to express that, we also recognised that we looked at you know, National Party, IFP, Ireland First, and we realised that at the time they were probably only going to field 20 candidates, and there was 166 constituencies, so we knew we had to do it differently. And what we did was we created a kind of franchise with a very loose brand, and we took what many people would consider weak candidates and back them and give them the ability to contest for a seat by supporting them with literature, with graphics, with a message, and no whip, and just go on, knock yourself out, and we're behind you. And so we contested then 55 of those council seats. We got the 300 members to support us and got ourselves on the map with the Electoral Commission. And so that's what we did. Following, and thankfully, I think we contested, Nationalists contested about half of those council seats, and Nationalist independents contested a good few more. So we saw there was potential for coming together, and so after the council elections, we went for the National Alliance, and we reached out um, to independents, to all the nationalist parties, and they reached out to us, in fairness, as well, particularly the Liberty Ireland got the ball rolling. And so, um, and if all those people who we had reached out to had joined some kind of alliance, and we had been able to get it past the Electoral Commission, which we didn't. We weren't able to. They shut us. They shut it down. We would have achieved one goal, which was to get 2% of the vote, which would have given us hundreds and thousands of euros of funding a year, which would be our statutory entitlement. A lot of people say, "Oh, you're only doing it for the money." Yeah, we need the money. If you don't have money, you're wasting your time with politics.
Yeah,
You can't
I
do
agree
it
with you
without money.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
And so that's what we tried to do. We we failed. But that's, and we're really sitting back and thinking about it now, because we've got another 5 years, Martin. You were part of
I
all
doubt
this.
it.
You
I
were
doubt it.
We were talking to you through all of this, and I think you share some of our frustration.
I
But
will. No, I wouldn't share. I won't go into my foray into politics, etc. Other than to say I have to do it because I have to touch something with my hands to understand it. I have to see how it all works. So, from my point of view, from what I set out to do, I did what I set out to do. I needed to see how politics worked. I needed to see how the electoral system worked. I needed to see how a political party worked. And I needed to actually go out and run myself, which I did in local elections. So it's a learning experience. You can't, lots of people have lots of opinions on how to fix X, Y, and Z, but you have to do X, Y, and Z to understand it. So I would say, just to give the Irish people some credit that I think a lot of people missed. Or it didn't hit home with a lot of people because they're not awake. Your poster campaign was fantastic. It was absolutely fantastic, but because it was so generic, no faces, no nothing. It could be used everywhere. From I'm big into cost and productivity. I mean, from a cost and productivity point of view, that was very, very, very clever. The images were really fantastic because I found some of them haunting. There was one there with the woman, the red-haired woman with
the
eyes.
girl,
Yeah, that I don't know why more that didn't resonate with more people, because I found that a very, very, very haunting image. So from that point of view, I think he did. I'd love to know who your graphic designer was, because
yeah,
there may be projects in the future that a mind like that could be used. kind of wink, wink, nudge, nudge. but yeah, like I said, I think it was good. I get the idea of running huge amounts of candidates. I agree 100% with you not having the whip system, because if you have the whip system and you just build another political party, you're just the same as everybody else. You just that's what you will eventually just become Sinn Féin, Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, or any of the other established parties. And we do need something different, and we do need to start thinking very, very, very differently. I hope that sound isn't being picked up. It sounds like there's a plane landing next door.
Well, it is a bit, but it don't look. My camera's wobbling, and thank God the family have stopped shouting at each other because they're moving couches at the moment. You know, so
there's not like moving furniture or putting up decorations to bring a family together,
yeah,
or painting.
the two young lads and the mother. Yeah, but
So
I
anyway,
agree
so
with you.
politics in Ireland, right? I don't think this government. I'll tell you why. I don't think this government will go full term, because the way they're after setting it up, I see a major chink in the armor, that an individual can be very easily lobbied / targeted, and if you build your government on an individual, then, like I said, I just see that as a massive chink in the armor. And I have no problem saying it out loud. I said it as soon as November was over. I'm on the attack again, and that's it. And I will be attacking this government with every tool and every resource and every ally that I can reach out to, because like you, I want to save my country. I want to save my heritage, and I always frame it in this term: the country my parents gave to me is not the country I've given to my children, and I'm ashamed of it, and I want to fix it, and that's what drives and inspires me. So do you think there still is a viable political solution to our woes?
Of course there is, but it depends on. At the moment, no one knows who we are. You know, we had a poster campaign. Yeah, it was world class graphics guy. I won't say who he is, but world class. And we got them all over the country, and that was another thing. You know, we got people who were willing to work, and to put their posters up when they're supposed to put them up, and take them down when they're supposed to take them down. And that was a great thing. But I think we're struggling with a few things. We put our ideas out there, and we get the result we get. At the moment, we're still unappealing to the Irish public, and that is a reality. I know there's probably some electoral interference every election. It's my probably unpopular opinion in nationalism that this election was no different to any other in those terms.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that we're still unpopular, and we're unpopular for a reason. But I think that the Irish electorate are still very passive, and that is. I mean, in many ways, RTE won the election. Rather than Fianna Fáil or Fine Gael, and that's why they got $750 million, at a time when they were hugely unpopular. The narrative is massive in Ireland.
But we could. Would you believe we can? So that's one of the things that I'll be working on a lot, is we have to build our own media. We have to build our own. Like there's talks of, in certain circles of having a fully national radio station. There is talks of people and like I'd be a contributor to something like this, of running it'd be obviously exclusively online, but running something akin to GB News, which would be a 24/7 or as close to 24/7 network, where it would be a culture, news, opinion. You probably have a bit of crack, but a few funny shows thrown in there, and then some very, very, very serious journalism in relation to digging corruption. So, but as you said, look, it all requires funding. So that is the big issue. There's no shortage of people willing to do it, but unfortunately, we can't live on air and good wishes. We have to be able to monetize it, and I've no problem in saying it. I am going to try and monetize something like this. So the big issue is you're probably in the same boat. I have to give 50 hours of my very precious time to somebody else during the week. That's
Yeah,
that's the social contract. You know what I mean? So if you
yeah,
could take that 50 hours and give it to somebody like me or somebody like yourself, I know you're a productive person, and I know I'm a productive
yeah.
person. What we could probably achieve with that, with being unshackled from the rat race, so to speak, would
Yeah,
probably be amazing. So
we've got a job to do, and that is in terms of candidates, and that's in terms of media workers like yourself and myself. I've done some media as well, and going back to the candidates, is there a political solution? Um, One thing the National Party does very well is, they knock on doors, and um, you know, candidates have to do that.
yeah,
We
Congo.
the candidates we had were ballsy people. They may not have been. A lot of people dismissed some of our candidates, um, but let me tell you, they were ballsy. They were the people who stood up and went for it. No, and we backed them. But the probably more competent people, the more uh, articulate speakers, the more credible people in their communities didn't show up. They are still uh, cowering. Those people are cowering in fear of being called bad people and in fear of cancel culture in their work. So, do I blame them? No. But the people who stood up, the ballsy people who ran, I give them more credit than the
Mm.
people who haven't stood up.
Would you
And
believe there's massive work for people like that? There are non-political. There's so many non-political organisations, and we do need to start defining all the different groups as, is it a political group or a non-political group? Because I think a multi-pronged approach is going to be required, and I think there is so much apathy in this country that there you will never get people just go, I'm not having anything to do with politics or political party. But there are so many organizations out there now that anybody who's, like you said, ballsy people, they need ballsy people. They need people who are willing to go to places like Knock or Dundrum or places
yeah,
like that and stand up and be counted and just make you talked about the shield wall earlier on. We need that shield wall in front of our holy places. We need that shield wall in front of our hotels, in front of all the places that are being
yeah,
planted at the minute. So, like I said, fair play to anybody who put their face on a poster or their name on a ballot paper. You are the bravest people in the country because you're standing up. But
f- f-
if politics isn't for you, there's groups out there. I don't want to start
yeah,
naming them because you forget one and this, that, and the other. But there are. Look, I'm involved in one or two of them myself, and
yeah,
they're and would say I get a bit of heat because I'm still involved in politics, and everyone, this is completely
yeah,
non-political and stuff like that. And I go, absolutely, I'll never be the front face for this, but my God, I'll be a contributor and I'll help you and
yeah,
this, that, and the other. So, like, for anybody who isn't interested in the political world, there's so much other work that can be done. There's so much other work
yeah.
that can be done on the ground, and communities are just crying out for heroes.
We've won Twitter by a mile, but that is not translating into votes for nationalist parties. There's a few things going on. One is that when you go to when you go to um, the events of the country, for example, in Newtown Mount Kennedy, um, you have people coming out who are willing to stand up to the guards and are willing to, take a stand in the local community, but they go away and they don't vote for us. They vote for somebody else. They go back and they vote for Sinn Féin, they vote for Fianna Fáil, and they vote for Fine Gael as well. They don't vote for us, or very few of them do. Even our own supporters, half of them are deregister, you know, and they're telling us we're they're actively undermining us, the political effort. Not in a big way. I mean, a lot of them are reasonable, but they don't believe in it in
Mm.
politics. They don't believe that we can achieve anything. Um, you know, I um, I mean, the potential to achieve something is there, but we have to one, understand that there isn't a big pot of gold in the nationalist world, or the nationalist body is a small group of people, and if we want to even get 2% of the vote, all of us have to work to a common goal, and we're not doing that at the moment. A lot of us, I mean, the great thing during that campaign is we were trying to get the 2%, and we and there was a lot of it was an achievable goal, more so than getting people elected. If we got 2%, we would have been sitting on probably a couple of 100,000 a year to invest in all of this. And a lot of people say, oh, you only want the money. Well, how many of us are struggling to get money for posters? Certainly the candidates, we're all broke after running that. The Fianna Fáiles aren't broke. It all
Well,
got
that's
paid
because
for them by the
that's because
taxpayers.
they used your money.
Yeah, exactly. And if we want to be on the pitch with those guys, we have to get that 2%. That's our first step, and we haven't achieved that. So
Would you be willing
secondly,
to compromise? So this is a devil's advocate question. If I was to
yeah,
say to you that I had a solution, okay,
mm,
to our electoral woes, and the fact that we can't. I've said this before, that we have a good product. We're just really shit at marketing. We can't market it, and we're no good at PR. So if I said to you uh, uh, that we wouldn't run an exclusively nationalist party, we would run something more palatable to the normie, we'll say. Right now, you see the great thing about the majority of Irish people don't read policies.
yeah,
They don't. They don't like. They
no,
don't read policies. You know what I mean? The policy is hard to get through. You know what I mean? I haven't even read every single policy over. I try and get AI to break them down for me, for the different, for Sinn Féin policies, Fianna Fáil policies, Fine Gael policies, because it's too long. There's not enough hours in the day to get through it all. But if we were to repackage, and with all the same ideas, because our goals align, all the nationalist parties' goals more or less
yeah,
align. We might have differences on percentages of non-nationals that are out in the country, and you know what I mean, work visas and stuff like that. But they're minor differences. We all want to save our culture and heritage. We all want to create a livable socioeconomic environment where mom and dad don't have to kill themselves just to make ends meet. That dad can just go out and do 40 hours a week, and people can live a comfortable life. I mean, that's an ideal world for me. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Where you can have 6 kids again. You can be married and have your house bought by 25 or 26. You know what I mean? The dream, like, you know what I mean? That
yeah,
everybody agrees on those kind of basic principles. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
So if I said to you that, guess what, I've a magic wand and I can do this, but we can't call it nationalism. We're going to have to call it something else.
Mm.
Do you think that's too big of a compromise to make to have electoral success?
Um, well, I think that we've already got that in Independence Ireland and Aintu. That's my feeling, and maybe I'm picking you up wrong on that. I think the problem is that is the government narrative again. I think we do have to stick to nationalism. I think we
Yeah.
have to stick to our core message. I think we have to be uncompromising about it. I think the problem is that the government and RTE have done something very simple. What they've done is they've created a worldview that in Ireland that if you talk about immigration, you're a bad person. It's that simple. if you talk about immigration, you're a bad person. And so everybody goes, oh, I don't want to be a bad person. I'm not going to talk about immigration. And then a lot of the softer now or parties like Aintu and Independence Ireland who share our who are the same people who are there at Newtown Mount Kennedy. They're the guys who have and they've gone away. And if you look at their response is yes. And this is what I read into an Independence Ireland's message to be: yes, if you talk about immigration, you're a bad person, like them,
Yeah,
and that's us,
yeah,
like them. So
yeah.
they're absolutely parroting the government narrative, and they're saying yes,
Pater Tobin is very, very interesting because he says all the right things, gets into everybody is shouting for them, everybody's going, yes, Aintu are on our side. And the second that gets back to him through the media, he flips like that, just flips straight away
yeah,
and goes to the other extreme. So yeah, I like I liked Patter up until his massive flip flop there because, like I said, it just when mainstream media started picking up that Aintu or that the imaginary far right are supporting Aintu, he just flips out. Look, we've enough politicians like that. The Independent Ireland, as far as I'm concerned, no, sorry, not for me at all. That is literally just an extension of Fianna Fáilers and Fine Gaelers and slightly disgruntled people and one or two plants. So I wouldn't have any faith in them. In relation to softening the approach, no, I wouldn't soften the approach.
Martin,
I'd
I've
package
lost
it
the
differently.
audio a bit, Martin. I'm sorry. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Yeah, I can I exit and come back in again?
Do ya?
I'm just my audio's just gone terrible. So is that okay, Martin?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll just talk to the audience so while I wait for David to come back in. Yeah. So the question I was putting out there was in relation to do we need to repackage nationalism to sell it to kind of Middle Ireland or the normies? So like, if anybody's got any comments on that or anybody's got any ideas on that, just pop me a DM on Twitter at Ruggermurph27. David's back.
Yeah, thanks. That's much
You missed it.
better.
I sang a song while you were gone. You missed it.
Brilliant. Yeah, but there's something else I wanted to say about nationalism generally. I do think I think the problem with Aintu and Independence Ireland, and they've already got caught out with the RTE guy, who basically dumped any nationalism at all and went pure woke. That they have that problem, and I think it happened in Italy that you had a somewhere between a soft core and a civic nationalism, and then people realized this isn't enough. Our problem, and I think we'll get there. Our problem is we are the most passive of all populations, and it's a thing with us that we have. For example, the famine. What people don't like to think about the famine was while we had everything taken away from us and while we were starving in the ditch, we were still complying. You know, and it took us 70 years from that point to the rising for the rage to return, and so we have a very long cycle in our responses to international or our political circumstances. And what it looks like at the moment is that Irish nationalism is most likely going to be saved by Britain and America again. And people don't like to think that Donald Trump is a savior or that Nigel Farage is a savior. But under the circumstances, it looks like it's the best we've got because the Irish people at the moment are a long way from getting it together in terms of standing up for their sovereignty. And it looks like the political international culture is going to be changed by Germany, Britain, and America. So
Yeah.
what's our problem? We have a few issues. Another issue we have, Martin, if you don't mind, I'll go into this. A lot of with the party whip, it's not just the party whip; it's also the common structure, and it's also the membership structure. The problem we have with the National Alliance is the Irish people has no whip. So what we found was we were essentially and I still believe that in nationalism, the Irish people is the only steady ship. It's the only one that isn't riven with internal turmoil and um, issues with leadership. Our leadership style is that we do leadership. It is very important that somebody provides leadership, but we don't. Leadership is to support the people who are stepping out there, and not to control them. Okay, you are you and to support them. To support them much more than you control them. Okay, there's times when you have to say, okay, we can't do this, or this candidate just isn't working out, and we've been there. But the issues are also that if you have a strong common structure, then you've made commitments to such a one up in Donegal, or such a one in Mulhuddard in Dublin, and that person has expectations that when you get to the when you're forming policy, that your commitments that you've made to them are going to be seen through. And so as soon as people are making are as soon as you're working together with other groups, your man down in Donegal and Mulhuddard are going to go, hold on, and you're going to have a Twitter drama. And all of a sudden, through the common system, your policy making at leadership level is being held to ransom by some drama queen down the country on Twitter. And that's the problem with the common system. You have to be able to manage the expectations of whatever membership you have, and the direction of travel is not from the leadership direction is not from the common to the leadership or the national leadership. It's the other way around, and that's one of the problems. The other problem is with a membership is that if you're putting numerous issues to votes, and you find that you've got a lot of wrangling, a lot of disappointment to
Too
people,
many voices. Yeah, too
too
many
many
voices.
voices, and
Yeah.
everybody
Right,
has a
David.
personal ideology.
I'm conscious of time, and I'm
Yeah,
strict on the 55 minutes.
yeah,
But I try my best to be
yeah,
to be strict. So I'm going to have to cut it off, which means you're going to
yeah.
have to come back on again, and we'll have to finish the conversation. I also genuinely I want to do a full one on our history, and
Yeah.
just like I said, it is something that I've been digging into, and I've been doing a little bit of reading into. Who I'll be doing another space coming up as well.
Yeah.
It's going to be like, what now, Irishman, or who are we, Irishmen, and get people to come on and just get people to explain in their own voice what it means to be to be Irish. David, thank you very much for joining me. I
Well,
appreciate it.
can you give
I
me
keep it short. Yeah, I keep it short
okay,
for a reason. Yeah,
I'll give you a teaser. I'll give you a teaser for the next one, for the next.
yeah.
I will, in the historical thing, talk about why Viking culture is so popular in Ireland. And I think there's a relationship to wokeness with the Viking culture. And finally, I'll say, for
That's very
politics, we
interesting.
need to keep it simple. We just
Mhm.
need to keep it simple. We need to have one goal, and we need to focus on trying to achieve it. So there. Thanks very much for
Excellent.
having me on,
Stay on,
Martin.
I'm gonna drop you down, but stay on there because I'll talk to you for a few minutes afterwards.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, for sure.
So Okay, thank you everybody for watching. First show of 2025, very, very interesting. I'm definitely going to have David back on again because that chariot talk and about our history and weaponry and stuff like that, I'm fascinated about it. You can see the big kind of geek smile on my face. So thanks everybody for watching. We'll have another episode next Wednesday, and if I get guests who are available, just send me a DM and I'll do more than one a week. Good night. Thanks for watching.